here again with the Neopagan November tag by the Sunshine State Witch. I am now filming off the back of the previous video I just made, if you've watched that one, and this is days 4 through 6. And I'm just going to jump straight in because I don't want these videos to get too long. I'm going to try not to ramble as much as I usually do. Keep these succinct. So for day 4, the prompt is I once thought. And there are so many I once thoughts because I've been in this game being magic and witchcraft, you know, on and off for over a quarter of a century at this point. And I am, you know, have changed and evolved as a person a lot. I think as expected. I'm in my 40s now, and you know, things, the way that I see the world and the things I've experienced means that I view things very differently than I did, you know, 25 years ago, ditto 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, honestly. It's really hard to pick one thing of what I once thought, but I think the thing that I've come to the realization most recently that has been really liberating for me is I once thought, and it's because I hear it repeated so much, even to this day, over on like witch Twitter and pagan Twitter and stuff, ceremonial magic Twitter, any kind of magical practice Twitter. Or I don't know, I'm not on TikTok because I just don't need that kind of level of distraction, quite frankly, but that in order to be an effective magical practitioner, in order to be an effective witch, you know, which would be practicing magic, because not everyone who practices magic is a witch, in order to have an effective spiritual practice, to be an effective pagan, whatever your paradigm belief system is within that, you have to have a really solid daily practice. And there were times when I was really hammering myself with daily breathwork and meditation and daily offerings and daily tarot card pull and making sure that I journaled everything and, like, you know, just all the things. And it's really unsustainable for a lot of people due to, you know, life just in generally maybe being really busy due to responsibilities. And I also found it really ableist because as someone with a squirrel brain that is wired in a very kind of way, and who lives with chronic illnesses that cause me a lot of pain and limit my energy and my brain function, I get cognitive dysfunction and brain fog, I just cannot sustain a constant daily practice because I need a little bit of novelty, because squirrel brain, and a little bit of routine, but it needs to be able to be a bit mutable. But also because, you know, some days I can't even get out of bed. It's not like, oh, woe is me, I can't get out of bed. Like, I physically cannot get out of bed. Those days, you know, thankfully are, you know, I don't want to, there's always a possibility that things can slide back, but, you know, they've been a lot better lately, but those days still come around. And I know there are people like, you can just lay in bed and do visual. Yeah, you can, and if you have the spoons to do that, that's fine. But even using cognitive function will use up energy and spoons for those of us with energy limiting illnesses. And also, sometimes you don't even have the brain function to do that. Your brain fog is so bad that you can't even have your brain just feels like it's mush and it's dribbling out of your ears, and trying to even just calm that down and do a visualization or whatever, or a mantra, can be really, really tricky, right? So as often as you can manage it, I feel, is good enough. And if your intention is there and that you're being even if you are being consistently inconsistent or consistently consistent, does that make sense? Then you'll get somewhere, because you know, you'll get there maybe a little slower, or it'll take a little longer sometimes for certain things, but you'll get there. Slow and steady wins the race, right? That's a saying for a reason. So I feel that I used to think that you had to have a very rigorous daily practice in order to be valid as a witch and or as a pagan or as a magical practitioner. And actually, you know, And I'm thinking of making a video about this, about how to manage a fairly consistent and regular practice if you had to struggle with issues with neurodivergence and or chronic health issues. So I think I might talk about that, because it's been a bit of a revelation for me and has really helped set me free from the shackles that I was putting on myself, or allowing to be put on me by listening to other people talking about these things. So anyway, so that is the first one for today, or well, I'm catching up, because this is the 10th of November, so I'm very behind on this. Number 5 is water, and this links to the other one that we had, which was candle, and obviously using candles for candle magic and all that jazz. If you want to see the previous video to this challenge. But water is one of the other things that I offer in my daily offerings to my spirit allies. So there are 3 things that I offer. I offer light via a candle, smoke via incense, and water being water. And this is off the working on the principles laid out by Ada Moshta in 6 ways. And you can jazz it up a little bit for special occasions. I might add some certain essential oils or essential oils to the water, or very tiny sprinkling of herbs to the little tea light, that kind of thing, or change up the incense a little bit. You can also add extra things to your offerings. Might put a little bowl of like little sweets or biscuits or something like that, whatever it is. To the offerings, but yeah, water. Those 3 main staples are the ones that are my go-to, and yeah, it's really simple, it's really stripped back, and I really enjoy it, and so that's often how I use water. And the final one for today is number 6, and that is darkness. And this was one I did when I first read it. I was like, not sure how to answer it, not sure. I didn't have anything instantly come to mind, and I've deliberately not looked at anyone else's videos on these prompts yet, because I want to get my videos done out the way. I don't want to be influenced. I just wanted to see what would come up for me. But yeah, nothing really jumped out at me in my head. So I think maybe getting comfortable with darkness, or being comfortable about being in the dark, both like literally, physically and metaphorically. So literally and physically, I think, society, just generally, like sort of Western society, at least in the society that I live in, is very sort of fearful of the dark, is very, I live in London. It's a very neon light lit, bright light. You can barely see the night sky most nights. There's a lot of light pollution, and so being in absolute darkness, or in being able to see the darkness of the night sky and see the stars, is something I don't experience unless I really go out of London. And I think it's important to get comfortable with that, and also just darkness in your home, like I know people think about what's lurking in the dark, or what's creeping under the bed, or what have you, but I think just being comfortable just in dark is just really, as someone who is a magical practitioner, for me being a witch, is important, and to get comfortable in that, but also metaphorically being in the dark. So what I mean by that is not necessarily knowing everything and having all the answers, right? I used to think that I would have to learn and know about everything. I had to learn about ceremonial and grimoiric magic and hermeticism and Kabbalah, and and then there's issues of there's all sorts of other issues that come up with that around, whether some of the things that we're using or looking at are appropriative, or all that kind of thing, but also I felt like I had to know everything about herbalism, everything about tarot, and everything about runes, and everything and that, and also I just want to cram it all in my head. But it's okay not to know everything about everything as a witch. So there are certain things that I've definitely become, and you sort of work out what you really like using and doing, and it's always fun to push beyond that and try new things. But for me, I like herbalism. I love studying herbalism, and I used to feel like I had to constantly be looking at it all day every day, not all day every day, but regularly every day or every week. But my brain is not wired like that, so I will cycle back to things that I'm interested in. And so I haven't really done any herbal study for a few weeks now. Probably since, no, tell a lie. When was the last I did the Evolutionary Herbalism Summit? I attended some of those free online. I think that might have been at the end of September or the beginning of October. That was probably the last time I was actively looking. Yeah, I think it was the end of September. I was looking at I was attending some online webinars, free online webinars, and that was probably the last time I did a proper bit of herbalism study. I've still been using herbs. For example, I am on my period right now. Sorry if that's TMI for you, but it's a fact of life for a lot of us. And I will create a blend of herbs that I use for a tea that involves things like mugwort and raspberry leaf, things that are like amenagogues and like relieving of pain and smoothing of the uterine walls and stuff like that. So although I've not been actively studying herbalism, I've still been using it. And even if I hadn't been using herbal teas for this issue, it doesn't mean that, you know what I mean, you can always come back to it. But also, you know, I've been studying, using, learning, reading for other people with tarot on and off since 25 years, and I don't know everything about tarot. I feel like I've barely even scratched the surface sometimes, and that's okay. I used to feel like I couldn't like be a valid reader. I don't read professionally, but like, I mean, for like family and for friends and acquaintances and what have you. And I've thrown down for like strangers when I've been in coffee shops and stuff like that. I don't mind doing that, in pubs and bars. And I always felt like a bit of a fraud because I didn't know everything about tarot, but no one's ever going to know everything about tarot. Not even like Rachel Pollack knows every single thing about tarot, or, you know, M.M. Moline or T. Susan Chang knows everything about tarot. And it also depends where you're coming at it from. Are you more of a Thoth head and you sort of come at it from that? Are you interested in the deacons and that kind of thing, or the decans? Are you more of a, like myself, I'm much more of a sort of fluid kind of old school Marseille type reader, and I read very sort of freestyle, freeform reading, a bit more sort of Camellia Elias and Enrique Enriquez, Yoav Bendorf kind of way of reading. So, you know, you don't have to know everything, and you may not even want to know everything, but part of the fun of that is if I get to live a long, happy, healthy life, fingers crossed, I can't quite, my ring's too big to cross my finger properly, I should hopefully be able to continue learning about tarot. And actually, as more people come out with decks and they bring their own spin on it, and especially if it's artists writing about the work that they have created for a tarot deck in their guidebooks, I love hearing people's takes and interpretations about a deck. Anyway, that was a lot of waffle. That was another 3 questions. I need to have a sip of water after I've stopped recording, and then I'm going to get on questions 7, 8 and 9, and then I think I'm going to leave that for the day, and then I'll start doing I'll do the next ones in a couple of days. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm really interested to know people's thoughts around this. Do check out other people's videos about this. I know that I will be doing so after I've finished filming mine. Like I said, I didn't want to be influenced by people's answers, but I'm very much interested in them. I think some people I don't know if people are doing it also over on Instagram, but anyway, I will link the previous video to this in the description box. I will link the Sunshine State, which is initial kickoff video, in the description box as well. And yeah, join in if you want. Comment down below your thoughts. Do you think I'm chatting out of my butthole? That's fine if you think. Do you think I made some salient points? I don't know. 2 things can be true at once even. But yeah, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Ciao.